Welcome to Turn Writing Fear Around podcast. Simple methods to overcome fear and start writing again. I'm Elise Hittinger, and I'm the host for your journey to courage. This is episode 77. Why am I afraid of being afraid? I was talking to a friend one day, and she was talking about being so anxious because she was anxious. And I'd never really thought about this. And it really resonated with me. Not necessarily that I feel it all the time, but even seeing it in the horses. The horses, you can see them get to a point where they're afraid of being afraid. They're afraid of everything. Everything sets them off, especially if you take like a horse to a new horse show or its first horse show, and it's just on sensory overload. It doesn't even know what to be afraid of. It's so afraid of everything. And I kind of look at that as being afraid of being afraid. And it can become a habit. And what happens is once your anxiety is at a point that you're then anxious, you're not ever going to get over anxiety, it just becomes a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've got people I know that were so afraid that they actually would go out of their house and sit on the front steps because they were afraid they were going to die in their house and nobody would find them. That's being afraid of being afraid. They have a fear that they're going to die, and they're so afraid that they go outside and sit on the steps so that somebody will find them if they die. And it became a habit. It becomes a habit to be afraid. So afraid that you're afraid that you'll never get over it. Afraid that you can't overcome it. Afraid that you're going to be like that for the rest of your life. And I'm here to tell you, those are all choices. There are tools you can use to start undoing that habit of fear, that habit of anxiety. There are tools that you can use. And you want to add as many tools as you can to your toolbox because what might work one time may not work another time. So here's just some of the things that are usually really good. If you're at the point that you're afraid of being afraid, really focus on your breathing. You have to breathe anyway. Take your mind and focus on your breathing. Just letting the breath come in, exhaling anxiety out. Let the breath come in, exhale anxiety out. Let that fear out. That's one of my favorite tools because it brings you back to the present moment. And in the present moment, you're not in any danger. Now, if you are in danger, that's a whole different thing. But I'm talking about being afraid of being afraid. And just like a horse at a horse show, you can see the horse isn't in any danger, but the horse can't see it's not in any danger. Its fear is built to a level that it thinks it's going to die. From the outside, you can see it's not going to die, but it thinks it's going to die. And it's the same thing with being afraid of being afraid. Breathing, watching your horse will eventually take a deep breath. And that's it starting to release that anxiety, that tension. So breathing is a great tool. The other one that I talked about in the last podcast, the PMR, getting tense and then releasing. That's another great tool. When you're starting to get that anxious, that you're anxious you'll never get over it, find little ways to make a little bit of progress. Doesn't have to be huge progress. Just find ways to make a little bit of progress. And the third thing I want to talk about is the courage pennies. Courage pennies are so helpful. What that is it's just looking for things in everyday life to fill up with a little bit of courage. When you do a little something courageous, take note of that, either physically or visualizing. Put a penny in a jar. Think of it as a courage penny and start saving up that courage and soaking up that courage every chance you get. All the little moments in life where you're courageous, soak up those pennies and visualize that the fear is being squeezed out of that penny bank as it fills up with courage pennies. There's no more room for fear. And it's the same thing with our body. The more we fill up with courage, there's no more room for fear. Another really easy tool that I forgot to mention is to sit up a little taller, stand up a little taller. Doesn't have to be a lot, just be a little bit taller. That has made such a difference for me. So the tools, breathing, being a little bit taller, and then the PMR, getting really tense and then letting it go. And with the breathing, what's important is on your exhale, picture yourself letting the anxiety out. Get it outside of you, push it out. You don't want anxiety inside of you. I'll put a link in the description below to my ultimate guide to courage pennies, and it just walks you through how to do the courage penny piece of this. So hopefully you're having a wonderful day. See you guys.